Raw kicks off this week with a rather epic extended recap of Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns last week and the week before, showing Roman's chase to the title. I'm guessing they're making such a big song and dance to make you think about last Monday rather than last night's pay-per-view and their recaps. Once we're live, Seth Rollins shows up. He demands Triple H out of the blue. He's still pretty sour that got dumped for Kevin Owens a little while ago. He says he needs to get Chris Jericho out of the equation before he can sort Owens out. He needs to sort Owens out to get to Triple H. Upon mentioning this, Kevin Owens appears and says Chris Jericho's fine. Rollins stirs the pot a little more between them, but Kevin Owens says that's pointless because he and Jericho are better than ever. In fact, Owens has got Jericho 3 gifts. The first is a US title opportunity for Jericho against Roman Reigns tonight. The second is a match between Jericho and Seth Rollins at Roadblock, so Jericho can get some redemption. The third and final match is next, and that's between Seth Rollins and The Big Show. So yeah, it seems The Big Show's back as Kevin Owens' lackey, / the Authority's lackey. But that doesn't last long. Kevin Owens relentlessly barks orders at The Big Show throughout the match. Eventually he ignores Seth Rollins, focuses on Kevin Owens, chokeslams him in the ring, and then The Big Show just gifts Seth Rollins Kevin Owens. As Big Show walks away and gets counted out, Seth Rollins hits Owens with the pedigree, and there we go. Big Show showing Stephanie how it's done, how to fucking turn heel and face quicker than anything. The premiere of 205 Live last week saw Rich Swann become the new Cruiserweight Champion. It's a rather desperate attempt at the WWE to make 205 Live worth watching in my opinion. They've spread the talent far too thin and there's no need for this show. Just keep them on Raw or SmackDown, or both, and just have the title on one or the other. Like I've said before, get the guys mixing with other guys on the roster, not necessarily cruiserweights. It just gives them more options. Stops things getting stale too. Saying that though, they did debut Jack Gallagher this week. He defeated Daivari with a running corner dropkick. After the match, Gallagher offered to shake Daivari's hand and Daivari jumped him. You know, because Daivari's obviously visibly a lot more foreign than Gallagher is. Titus O'Neil's still searching for the personality that he lost in 1996. He's handing flyers out to people backstage asking for any information going. I'd just leave it be, Titus. I mean, that thing's been face down in a fucking ditch for years now. Kevin Owens kicks off backstage. Mick Foley tells him that his match against Sami Zayn's still on tonight, even if he has just been attacked by The Big Show and Seth Rollins. Owens spots Chris Jericho lingering about, and he updates him on what's happened so far tonight. He even has to plead with him for a little bit. Jericho says they're not good, and Jericho walks off. Kevin Owens obviously looking quite upset about this. While Scrappy and Scooby-Doo are hanging out backstage and talking about morals, they overhear a conversation between Rusev and Lana. The conversation turns to a fight, Lana throws a wedding ring at Rusev, and then, you know, morally high ground Enzo just weasels in there like Quagmire. Ugh. After the break, we're back to Lana and Enzo. Lana suggests that they make Rusev jealous and to meet him at a hotel room later on. Obviously, Enzo's all for it, and he sends Cass off with a couple of dollars to go and get himself a colouring book so he's got something to amuse himself with. A nice fast quick-paced match from Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, the pop-up powerbomb finishing it off. I'm pretty sure the only purpose the match served was just showing Kevin Owens getting put through matches while he's just been beaten down earlier on. While Chris Jericho's in the locker room, Man Bun Reigns appears. Reigns takes the piss out of him getting a pedigree last week from Seth Rollins, and says that Jericho's just doing Owens' dirty work. He also wishes him luck in his match against himself tonight. We're reminded of last week when Sasha Banks took a shit in the crowd, and also of the Divas match that they had when she won the belt. And then we get a little interview with Charles the Dwarf. Sasha Banks pats herself on the back for a good while, like she always does, and then says they're going to make history again by having a 30-minute Iron Man match, which she's also could have done before sometime, I'm not sure. Was it her that did it? You'd think she'd remember this shit. We're then treated to a little video package of Charlotte Flair dumping her dad last year, which was very awkward, lovely television, thanks for that. Charlotte says she'll apologise tonight because of her actions, which, even if she does apologise and keeps it nice, just the sight of them both on screen at the same time will just turn my stomach, so woo, I'm looking forward to that. Rich Swann almost took TJ Perkins' head off when Perkins went for a springboard something, and ended up eating a spinning hook kick for his efforts. Swann's looking like a good strong champion, and they really want people to watch 205 Live on a Tuesday night. This week on WWE Loves Women, the special needs girl that lives down the street versus the crazy crackhaw. Bailey to crackhaw for the win. After Enzo shows Big Cass some of the photographs that Lana's been Snapchatting to him, Enzo heads off to go and get his end away. With Enzo gone, Rusev appears. Rusev demands Big Cass tell him where his wife is. Big Cass says he knows nothing about it, and Rusev challenges him to a match later on tonight. Next week, eh, Melina? Well, you'd better do something fucking useful with this, and not just do an Eva Marie, tugging on our dicks for a while and just wasting all this time. It's the tussle in Texas. It's Mark Henry. It's Titus O'Neil. It's Mark Henry versus Titus. Oh, fuck, it's done already. World's Strongest Slam. Done. One move. Well done, Titus. Well done, Mark. You both entertain me about as much as hemorrhoids do. While Enzo Amore is frantically looking for a way to get to Lana's hotel, Ric Flair appears in his limousine. Being a fan of creeping in on women, Ric Flair relates to Enzo and gives him his limousine for the night. Enzo might just want to make sure not to touch any of the seats with his bare hands. As Chris Jericho walks around in the back heading out to fight Roman Reigns, Kevin Owens appears and tells him that he's got his back and that he'll be in his corner during the match. Jericho makes it pretty clear that he doesn't want anything to do with Owens and tells Owens to leave him alone. For the match itself, it's business as usual. A spear puts Jericho away. During the match though, Kevin Owens did show up. He superkicked Roman when the referee wasn't looking, which allowed Jericho to hit Roman with a code breaker for a 2 count. Then Jericho and Owens argue for a bit. Jericho turns round, gets hit with a spear, and it's all over. So it takes Big Cass a good 10 minutes or so to go, "Oh, Bobo's scared," and realises the whole thing's a trap. He grabs the nearest phone he can find, and he obviously knows Enzo's number off the top of his head, as you do. And he can't get through to Enzo, as we see as the scene jumps to him, and he sees an unknown number and just cancels it. When he arrives at Lana's hotel, he somehow doesn't realise it's kind of like porno/snuff film scenario, and he just goes in, drops his pants as is instructed, and then eventually Rusev appears and beats the absolute piss out of him. He puts him through a coffee table, he breaks a lamp around the back of his head, pretty much just kill and rape him and dump his body outside the door. Nothing was settled in the match between Gallows and Anderson versus Cesaro. They all spilled out to the outside and fell into the New Day who were watching the match. The referee just threw the match out, and now I assume we're going to go to a triple threat tag team for next week. Before we head into the quote-unquote main event of the evening, we're given a 63rd reminder of Charlotte Flair dumping her dad earlier on in the year. Charlotte appears and gives somewhat of a heartfelt speech. Her dad comes out, she goes to hug him, she does hug him, they have a little moment, and then, she just slaps him in the face. In what was possibly the worst segment in Raw history, at least in the last fucking year or so. None of the Authority promos were that bad. This was just... I don't know if it was worse than the first one with the dad where she dumped him, but I just wanted to just turn it off, and it was the end of the show. It should have been something better. Eventually Sasha Banks comes out, but gets destroyed by Charlotte. Charlotte drags Sasha around, chucks her back in the ring and tells her dad, "There's your prize." Yeah, like I said last week, it's obviously time to be concerned. Right, well I'm pretty sure everyone knows how this goes now. We start the thing off with Corey Graves. Yep, as I expected, yeah. Such a catty bitch this week, as per usual, but even harsher towards Byron, and I love it, so yeah. Next is obviously, Jericho and Owens, their storyline. It's not what I expected, but I'm enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to them clashing properly. The Big Show's looking good. He's apparently under 400 pounds now. He's still moving about quite nicely. It's good to see him in good shape and in good health. He's obviously no spring chicken. People want him to retire, but, if you're still happy doing it from time to time, then I say leave him be. It's not like he's detrimental to anyone. The tag team picture's looking good at the moment. The title record's coming to a close. New Day have what looks like 2 new opponents for next week. So, I'm interested to see where this goes. I think if they can, they'll let him tie it. They won't let him break it, but we'll see. And Cesaro, who are mostly looking like a very well-oiled machine. Mostly. Well, it seems to be raining shit pretty hard this week. Sad to say, I just don't really have any interest in anything any of the divas on Raw are doing. It just seems pretty evident that WWE hates women, because all of them end up being knobheads in the end. Here's a fashion tip from Man Bun Reigns. If you have hair like this, find the sharpest pair of scissors or the sharpest knife you can find. Wash your hair first, clean the knife or scissors, and then jam the fuckers into your leg, crawl to your nearest hairdressers, and ask them to fucking cut the stupid little thing off. Christ, you're like a fucking duck's greased up his tail feathers and is off on a night for pussy and fucking cocaine. Jesus Christ. I'm gonna have to badmouth the backstage choreography this week. Last week it was really good in the parking lot with the timing for Jericho's list getting knocked out of his hand. He bends over, here's someone asking if they made the list. As he stands up, Rollins is there. It was just really well done. And this week just seemed really sloppy in the hotel room, and it took ages for Rusev to appear. I just feel like the whole scene could have been filmed and just played along much smoother. Big Kaz gets a sad face this week, just, for being big and dopey. There's nothing entertaining about him. Obviously Enzo's the one with all the charisma, and Kaz is just there because of his size. And don't get me wrong, I don't think he's a bad bloke or out, but no entertainment value with them from me at all. And let's just deal with his partner. Why the fuck am I supposed to support Enzo? He's a slimy prick. He's just trying to jump in bed with someone who's just had a little fallout with the fucking husband. I don't get it. If he was a heel, like, say, Jericho, when he's trying to be a creepy bastard, then fair enough, that makes sense, but when I'm meant to be cheering for Enzo, and I'm meant to be relating to him, and yeah, there's no sympathy whatsoever. And that's it for another week. If you'd like to comment, please follow the link in the description to the Botchamania site and do so there. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, I can be found at Blunt Damage, and if you like the music heard in this, the band is The Colour Fire, and they can be found at www.thecolourfire.com. I'll see you next week.